if you have an island, you take an island, it would have a lot of species, but it would have much higher densities of species per square meter than a continent. You open up, you're going to have fewer species because some of them will win. We had that in cultural life. The Beatles, Harry Potter, now everybody reads the same book. You can't make a living as an author now because a few authors make most of the money, particularly in a non-fiction, in a fiction space, because either you sell 20 million or you work for Starbucks. Unless you work at Starbucks, in which case you can work for other places. I work at Starbucks personally, so anyway. So that's and that causes winner-take-all effects. Opera singers could make a living because there was no audiovisual. And of course, today, or as of, 2000, 10 opera singers made most of the income of all opera singers. Okay? So, and that concentration is okay so long as the road from college dorms to Google remains as short as the road from Google to college dorms. And that was the case. We saw what happened. Alta Vista disappeared in how many? 12 minutes, right? Was replaced by Google. Nothing replacing Google. Why? Because it's getting sticky at the top, and that's unhealthy. The process of concentration in itself is not unhealthy. This market mechanism. What is unhealthy is when people become powerful. And what do we have now? It's technofeudalism. So that's my first point on concentration. Now it applies to a lot of things. Example, viruses. It took about a week for COVID to dominate the planet. Okay, to reach, one convention in Chicago, can redistribute, across the whole planet. The bubonic plague took 330 years to go from what's Istanbul now to the north of England. You see, and of course never reached the Americas because we didn't have the same connectivity. Now, connectivity is not a problem. It's only a problem if you have an archaic textbook understanding of our, economic and social, cultural, and biological life. See? So we got to, and it is pathological, of course, if it's sticky. When I wrote Skin in the Game, I think I looked at the data, and the Forbes billionaires, you had about, I think, only 10% of the families were there 30 years, later. I mean, up till 2010, I think. In Europe, it's a reverse. And it looks like we're going to be more like Europe, but with even more concentration and more technological. So that's point one. Point two. We have problems understanding, dominance in geography, mostly because historians aren't statisticians. And I'm a statistician, so we view things differently. And you got to look at history more as a process than as some kind of textbook museum description of things. In 2007, when I published The Black Swan, it's an old book now, strangely, it came back to the bestseller list not long after someone warned me. He said, your tweets are going to make your books extinct, okay, out of print. Okay, anyway, so it looks like things are working in reverse. So the United States had about 20% of the world economy. I'm using purchasing power parity, which is the most rational one. Europe, same thing. What's Europe now? What's EU now? 20%. And China, 6%. Now the US is about, 15%? And declining, dropping. Europe is about 14%. And really dropping. And what's China? North of 20%. Okay? So I'm talking about within the life of a book, right? Okay, so you think that the future is going to be any different? But there's something called compound growth. A very small differential in growth can produce monstrously large outcomes, and this is what Warren Buffett discovered, okay, over time. So when we talk about the next generation, even half a generation from today, we know who's going to dominate the planet. Okay, someone may argue, well, PPP, is not real. It's real dollars. Even in real dollars, the story is similar. But the other thing I'm going to say now that we're talking about weapons, about PPP, how much will it cost to produce this chair? Probably made in China, probably cost $1 there. How much will it cost to make that chair here? A lot. I mean, and in the military, apply that to the military, we spend what, about $1 trillion? How much do the Chinese spend? About a third of that. Just compare the prices, what they get for a third of that, and you realize who is the real superpower or getting to be a superpower.